my dear learners. Welcome to the world of exploration. Welcome to the world of learning. Let's start exploring. Let's start learning. This is your very own educator, teacher, philosopher, guide, mentor, counselor, your very own Sukriti Joshi Maam. All right. So today I would be talking about going places, which is a brilliant chapter in your textbook in class 12 in standard 12. So I'm going to go ahead with going places, right? Which is written by A.R. Barton. You are supposed to know the names of the writers always. Specifically speaking about 12 standard, you have to mention the name of the writer or the name of the poem. If it is a poem, the name of the poem along with the name of the poet. And if it's a story or it's a story, then you have to mention the name of the story along with the writer's name, right? So make sure that you're doing that. In boards, this will be having weightage, right? So according to the marking scheme, if you want to get marks, if you want to fetch marks, you have to mention. And for that, you need to remember the name of the writer. So it's written by A.R. Barton, who is basically a modern English writer, right? So if I talk about A.R. Barton, he's a modern English writer. He lives in Zurich and has written a number of literary pieces, right? Depicting the contemporary problems and issues. So he dealt with contemporary problems, contemporary issues. That means modern day issues, modern day problems, right? So in the present story that we are gonna read, that is Going Places, which is written by A.R. Barton, we're going to find basically how Barton emphasizes that fantasy and imagination. If we talk about fantasy and we talk about imagination, they're both going to end up in being illusions and empty images. So both of them, whether we talk about imagination, first and foremost, for you students right now, you are there in school right now. So fancy and imagination are the same things. You can assume. But if you would be doing your master's in English, you will find out how poets have used fancy terminology and the imagination terminology in different ways. So for you, you guys are small, you guys are little, so it's fine if you use the word fancy and imagination together, but how they create empty image altogether, right? All right. So we would be having a look at the theme, and when we have a look at the theme, we can see and we can say that uh, the story Going Places describes, or it sort of delineates the aspirations and the dreams of the youth. Yes, of you people. So you people would be able to, kind of associate it in a better manner because it's meant for you. I mean, it's written, it's sort of written in a conversational or, in a sort of a conversational tone. So you can actually relate with it, and also the age group is also similar. So you are kids right now, you are small right now, small children, and you're in your teens, right? So similarly, what we get to see in this story is that how teenagers behave, how do they fantasize, what do they think, right? So all these things, all these thoughts come to their mind, and I know that having taught students of so many age groups and at various different schools, I have experienced that, there are children who fantasize, who imagine a lot of things, you know. They are into doodling, they're into writing poetry, they're into writing stories, they're into publishing. Uh, they're authors, they're writers, they're painters. So the different forms are there in order to express yourself, your inner self, right? But you do express it. So similarly, as an adolescent, you also might uh, be having, various fantasies about. It could be related to, see, a celebrity. It could be related to a teacher that you admire. It could be related um to your brother or sister, or to your mom and dad, right? Who you admire, right? It could be related to a superstar that you admire the most. Uh, right? Hero. That's what we call it. Hero worshipping. For instance, Shah Rukh Khan is the Khan, right? Kartik Aaryan. For instance, I like Kartik Aaryan. I like Shah Rukh Khan. Um, yeah. So yeah. So that's called hero worshipping, right? And that's what we're gonna have a look at. That's what we're going to dive deep into the recesses to know what actually happens in the story. Now, let's begin. So the story basically, revolves around who's the protagonist. In every story, there is a protagonist. So similarly, in the story also, you get to see that there's a protagonist, right? Who is the protagonist? Sophie is the protagonist, right? So the story revolves around Sophie, who is, who is a teenager, as I told you, who is about to finish her school. So she's about to finish her school, like you guys are about to finish your school. You're in just 12, right? So similarly, she's also about to finish her school, and now you all must also be fantasizing, must be thinking about either becoming something or the other, right? You might be thinking about getting into modeling, or you might be thinking about getting into the acting field, or you might be thinking about becoming an IS officer, or an IFS officer, or an IPS officer, or or you could be thinking about going into AI thing. I don't know much about AI technology, but that thing. Software engineering. You might be thinking of becoming a doctor. You might be thinking of going into the parliament and becoming a member of the parliament. It could be anything, right? It's up to you. And it's according to your stream as well. Which stream you have chosen. It could be humanities, it could be commerce, it could be science, right? I have majorly taught humanities and science, so I can talk about that. It could be about CA, yeah. In commerce, we can talk about CAs, right? So yeah, okay. All right. So, so we get to see that, where was I? That she basically was about to finish her school, like you people, right? So she dreams big to achieve, a lot of things in her life. Similarly, you also might be thinking to achieve big things in your life, right? Nobody thinks about achieve. I mean, there can be people who think about not achieving, or not having big dreams, but one should definitely have big dreams. Um, because you need to either be motivated, or you need to motivate others to achieve big dreams. Because if you will not think big, then how will you be or become big, right? So for that you need to think big, but you need to also be there in the reality. You should also respect what is real. You should be able to distinguish between reality and imagination, what you perceive and what is it in reality, and accept it, right? It shouldn't be that you are not able to accept the reality. You should accept the reality and then do the best possible thing that you can in any of the career that you would choose, or that you would choose ultimately, right? So, but on the contrary, her family, so she dreams big to achieve a lot of things, right? But on the contrary, what happens is that her family circumstances are totally different. That's what we get to see, that she's not that rich, you know. So there are people, there are rich people, there are middle class people, there are lower middle class people, and then there are poor people. So her background, she comes from a middle class background, right? Now when we talk about middle class background, there are not much resources, right? And you know, in middle class families, it is said that you cannot dream big. You cannot think out of the box, because you know it won't. Your dreams won't come true. They will only be dreams. Um, they will never ever be translated into reality. Now, so she, you know, so uh, her father is also, you know, is an example of a working class person, right? Her elder brother, she has an elder brother who is Geoff, who also plays a vital role in the story. So the entire story actually revolves around Sophie, Jansie, and Geoff, right? We will talk about Jansie, but first let me deal with Sophie and Geoff. Geoff is the elder brother of Sophie. Clear? So her elder brother, Geoff, is already working and is almost grown up in the eyes of Sophie. So, you know, if there are siblings, obviously, um, for instance, if this is Sophie and this is Geoff, Sophie would be seeing from her lens, Geoff to be a kind of a big brother who is big enough, and because he was working, uh she really looked up to him and she wanted to discover what is there outside in the world, right? What does Joffrey, you know, involved into? She wanted, because he never used to reveal anything, he never spoke much. He was quite an introvert person, you can say, or you can say that he was quite shy. Not shy, but he did not reveal much. He used to speak less, whereas Sophie used to speak what came to her mind, right? So she spoke her mind. Uh, so she always used to keep on assuming things. That what does Geoffrey think? What is he doing? Where is he? What is he working on? What what is his life like? You know? All right. Then Sophie has high hopes about her career. So as I've spoken before, she has high hopes about her career, that she will be able to do very well in her career. she's not interested in joining a biscuit factory. So, see, in middle class families, you are destined to become something or the other. Your parents have already, or your family members have already made plans for you, right? That you would do end up doing this. No, you can't do that. You would end up doing this. You have to do this. You have to go into this line. You will not be able to do that. Sometimes parents do that, or the family members do that. It's for your own good, but it's for your own good only. Your parents will never ever think wrong or ill about you, or your relatives will never ever think, or specifically parents will never ever think ill about you. So whatever they decide is also you need to keep in mind. But apart from that, Sophie had other dreams. She nurtured other dreams. She had other fantasies. She used to fantasize. She used to dream a lot. She was ambitious, right? She wanted to do a lot in her life. So this was just starting. She was not interested in joining a biscuit factory at all. And she instead, she dreamt of opening her own boutique. So she dreamt of opening her boutique. Now, for boutique, as we all know, that opening a boutique requires a lot of employees, requires a lot of effort, requires a lot of energy, requires a lot of money and investment. Place, venue, staff, then paying them well, and then how will it function? It's never so easy to get clients, right? So it was actually not, um should I say, it was actually not a feasible dream for Sophie, because she belonged to a middle class family. Now, if we talk about, if I, from my lens, from my perspective, see, poor class has advantage, rich class has a lot of advantage. Poor people get a lot of advantage. They're exempted from a lot of taxes. Rich people going for agriculture or other, stuff. Uh, they attach themselves to various NGOs and other stuff, and therefore they get exempted from taxes and then agriculture and everything. So keeping all that apart, middle class is the only class which is left, which doesn't get any benefits uh, about that taxation, water benefit, electricity benefit. Nothing is given to the middle class. So when I am talking about the middle class, it's just not possible to even think about that dream. You know, that's why her parents were also insisting that you shouldn't even, whatever you're dreaming is something that is far beyond our reach, you know. Then she thinks herself to be very sophisticated, and she thinks that she's very, very sophisticated, very polished, um, and original, and she's original and suitable for, uh, you know, uh, suitable to be either an actor or work as a manager. So she had three dreams in totality. First and foremost, she wanted to open a boutique. Then she wanted to become an actor, and becoming an actor is not easy. You need to give auditions, you need to know acting, you need to know how to play with the expressions, you need to know how to dance, and nowadays you need to know a lot. Seriously, stunts, acting, dancing, singing, everything. You should be an all-rounder to be an actor or an actress, right? So she wanted to be an actor, which is again an impossible dream. Uh, you need to work very hard, and you need to devote a lot of time. And belonging and coming from a middle class background, it is very difficult, honestly speaking, to be either to to open a boutique, or to even think about entering into the profession of entering into the acting profession, or being a manager. Being a manager also requires um, money, right? So yeah. So Jansie, her friend. Now Jansie is her friend. Whose friend? Sophie's friend. Now Jansie, uh, her friend tries to make her realize her practical position, but Sophie is not ready to come out of from her world of fantasy. Now Jansie is telling her time and again that, you know, Sophie, now stop it. Stop it, Sophie. Stop it. Enough is enough. This is not real. This is not practical. Whatever you are dreaming, whatever you're nurturing, whatever dreams you're nurturing, whatever you're thinking, whatever your uh, uh, thoughts are, they are not practical. They're not real. I'm not saying real, but they're not practical, because it is not possible for you to go in for either opening a boutique or entering acting profession, or being a manager, right? It's just not possible. So think something that is practical. And I think, I mean, according to Jansie, what she thought was that both of them, they were destined to enter the biscuit factory, and that was their destiny. That was the reality. It was far, far, far away um from the practical. Yeah, I mean, entering the biscuit factory was the reality. It was practical. It was far, far away from impracticality, right? Now, the only person in whom Sophie seems to have full faith is not ready to come out from her world of funds. So the only person in whom Sophie seems to have full faith and hope is her brother Geoff. So the only person in whom Sophie seems to have full faith and hope is her brother Geoff. Now she only seems to have hope and faith in her brother Geoff, as I have mentioned earlier, that he plays a very crucial role, because she's really, in fact, more than her own life, she's interested in Geoff's life, that what is happening in his life, I should be knowing, but what each and every aspect uh of his life, of whose life, of Geoff's life. He passed out school 3 years back, right? So he passed out school 3 years back and is working as a mechanic. So he's now working as a mechanic, and she's very interested in, she's willing and wanting to ride with him. So through Geoff speaks less, though Geoff speaks, as I've mentioned before, he speaks less, uh, and most of the time he's, busy in his own thoughts, and he's also busy in his own thoughts, but he doesn't fantasize. He's working, right? Sophie shares everything with him. So Sophie, but on the other hand, we get to see that how Sophie is sharing each and everything about her life to about her life with Geoff, right? With her brother. So one day, Sophie tells her brother Geoff that she has met Danny Casey. So one day, what happens is that she tells that her brother Geoff that I have met, guess who? Guess. It's Danny Casey. Yeah, I met Danny Casey. Now, uh, who is Danny Casey? He's an Irish sports star. So Danny Casey is an Irish sports star. Please keep that in mind. Don't think that now who is Danny Casey? All of a sudden, who is Danny Casey who came into the story? Danny Casey is the superstar, right? So we are, as I had mentioned earlier in the as I had mentioned earlier in the very beginning, that we are gonna have a look at how adolescents, how teenagers hero worship. Now is the time that we get to see that how she is actually hero worshipping as a teenager. She's hero worshipping him. Who? Danny Casey, who is a superstar. So though Geoff doesn't believe, sorry, he, her father is angry with her and calls it her wild dream. So now Sophie's father is actually agitated and angry. He's furious, you know, with her wild dream. He warns her that one day she would get into trouble for all this. So he's actually warning her, who? Sophie. He's warning Sophie that one day she would, actually fall into the trap. She would actually fall into trouble. Why? Because he knows that she has wild dreams. Wild dreams, that means her dreams are just wild. They're just fake. Not fake, but she's, thinking all the time and she's dreaming all the time. It's all wild. It's all impractical, not practical, away from reality, right? Something that is illusionary, right? So, um, uh, the entire family is a fan of Danny Casey, and they all go to watch a football match in which Danny Casey scores the final goal, right? So the entire family, if you see the entire family of Sophie, Geoff, the father, mother, the entire family, they're big fans of Dan Casey, who is an Irish sports star, right? Uh, though Geoff doesn't believe her, he doesn't stop her. Though, so, Geoff doesn't actually believe what Sophie is saying, but he still, somehow doesn't stop her. He tells this to Frank, who is Jansie's brother. So now he's telling this to Frank. Now, another character, he's now he tells this to Frank, who is Jansie's brother, and Jansie comes to Sophie to get the details. So he now is informing Frank, who is Jansie's brother, and Jansie has now come to uh, take away to gather the information, to gather the details about the incident. But Sophie hides it from her. But Sophie is basically tries to hide it from her because she doesn't want to reveal anything about that event or incident that took place when she met Danny Casey. So he tells, Sophie goes to the wharf to meet Danny Casey in the evening. She keeps on waiting for him for him, but Danny Casey doesn't come. So, this is a point wherein I feel that she's dejected, not dejected, but she comes to there is a mirror that is kept in front of her wherein she can actually see uh, what the reality. She's confronted with reality. She comes face to face with reality. So her dreams, her dreams shatter because Danny Casey doesn't come. So according to her, Danny Casey had promised to come, but he doesn't come. He doesn't land up, right? So she knows that nobody will believe her story. And now she's like, oh my gosh, nobody is gonna believe my story because he hasn't come. He hasn't, met me. So now nobody will ever uh, trust me or have faith in me because he hasn't come. So finally, the reality begins to sink into her. She returns home disappointed. So, obviously, because her dream has shattered, she feels shattered from inside and out. So, she finally goes home. She knows that nobody will believe her story. In order to give herself strength, she herself has to believe in her own story. Now, in order to give her own self the assurance that it was a reality, that the incident had actually taken place, that it was not unreal, that it was actually real, and it was a surreal experience altogether. She she felt helpless, she felt disappointed. She knows that nobody will believe her story. In order to give herself, she herself has to believe in her own story. It's so wonderful for her to live in the world of fantasy. So it's so wonderful for her to live in her own fantasy, to live her imagination, to live in her imagination. The story describes the psychology of a teenager. So as like I did mention in this very beginning, that it basically it's talking about it's dealing with the psychology of the teenager, right? Who loves to live in a world of make believe. So we are talking about how she loves to, be in that make believe world. But this is the reality that all the teenagers should, be, um, that all the teenagers should know that, sometimes we tend to admire or adore someone so much that we forget that that person actually doesn't really exist. I mean, he exists or she exists, but the reality is very much different. If it's a superstar, a lot of us, admire superstars, cricketers, um, politicians, but then the reality being that they do not know us, right? We know them because they have achieved something in life, right? They have achieved a lot of things in life, and because of that fame and that celeb status that they enjoy, we start looking up to them. But it's just a matter of looking up to them. It shouldn't become a kind of an obsession. It shouldn't become a kind of a, you know obsession for a teenager to be addicted to someone, right? uh at least to a person who you do not know personally, you know because see, it's a different thing altogether. For instance, if I like Kartik Aryan, or if I like Shah Rukh Khan, or if I like Hrithik Roshan, or if I like anyone else, um Varun Dhawan, if I like Varun Dhawan, I really like him. So if I like Varun Dhawan, so that doesn't mean that, I have met Varun Dhawan in reality. It is not true that I have seen Dhawan in reality. Although I have seen Varun Dhawan um while he had come to our college for some promotion of for a promotion of a movie. So he, along with Shraddha Kapoor and Raghav and all that team, they had come in order to, before COVID, they had come to our college. They visited, so it was uh, a brilliant experience seeing Varun Dhawan and Shraddha Kapoor. She actually looks, um, she looks gorgeous in reality. On screen, it doesn't come out to be, that much, but in reality, she's very fair and she looks very, very beautiful. Varun Dhawan looks very handsome, and all the entire team of Dharmesh sir and everybody had come. So Akshay Kumar had come, but Akshay is not my favorite superstar. So I wouldn't. I mean, for me, it is Varun Dhawan, Kartik Aaryan, and all. So yeah, but that even there in college, I could see that children had got gaga over Shraddha, boys especially. Um, when I was before this college, when I was in the other college in the uh, Urvashi Rothela had come. She's from our college only. So when she came, all these guys, I don't know from where, because ours was girls' college. All these guys out there just they just covered the car. So it's you should understand that there's a personal space between the star and between you. You cannot go gaga over them and then hug them, try to take try to diminish that line that is prevalent. You can admire someone, you cannot fall prey into that trap. We all admire God, we all love God, but we shouldn't fall prey into some trap or the other, right? So this was me, Sukriti Joshi, your very own educator, teacher, philosopher, guide, mentor, friend, and preacher. So this was it. This is Sukriti Joshi signing off. Bye bye. Till then, keep learning, keep exploring.